All right. Here we go. Did you know water is wet? Obvious, right? I bring it up though because a lot of authors will open their articles this way to show the reader that they understand the problem. The problem is the reader already assumes you know the answer, and that's why they clicked in the first place. So we're just being redundant. Now, Alora Weaver and I talked about this in her episode of The Cutting Room, where we talk about how to get rid of those types of introductions so we can get people really engaged in reading and going through the rest of the piece. Now, before I talk about this any further, let's just get right into it.
All right. So let's talk about the intro for a second. I'm looking for a immediate hook that's going to get me engaged and say, all right, this person is speaking to me, my level of awareness and knowledge about this topic, and why I'm here. If you're making a water is wet statement to your audience, then that is not, it's not necessary. If people already know this, then don't don't write it again. Or acknowledge, hey, you might already know this, but that type of thing.
Right.
uh, you have to, like, again, it's a one-to-one conversation here. So the writing was, these days marketing teams are constantly on the lookout for innovative ways to educate audiences, attract customers, and hit their goals. Well, that's what marketing teams are supposed to do. So how is it different from the old days? It's, I'm not getting it. Maybe I'm taking this too literally, but I'm not getting it. So why don't we find a more interesting hook, right? Find an analogy. I'm a big fan of analogies. Like, I show an example in my notes. In today's rapidly changing business landscape, which also sounds kind of marketing, I would change anyway. But still, the work of a marketer is like sailing a ship through a hurricane. Those are higher stakes, right? Um, it's also agitating the pain. I'm using copywriting technique right there. Uh, Empathize with their situation or struggle that's leading them. Again, the story is in the struggle to this post. Like, this is the introduction is the welcome mat, and it's setting
Mm.
the stage for everything else that's going to happen in this piece. And it's also an opportunity for you to bring storytelling from the beginning. And we are writers, we like to do storytelling, even when we're doing nonfiction. um, that'll bring narrative elements to the rest of the piece that you can refer back to. To use a theater uh, format, I'm sorry, my notifications are going off. Um, there's something in improvisational theater called the herald, where
Mm.
you have a motif or a theme that's set up from the beginning of the improv, and you go on all these tangential places throughout, but you're constantly doing a callback to that original theme, and it
Mm-hmm.
ties it all together. And there's an opportunity in the introduction to set up that theme. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other thing is, second person point of view is so important with blog posts because it is a one-to-one conversation, and in business writing especially, it's about persuading people, and you
Mm-hmm.
cannot persuade if you're talking to the abstract idea of the marketing team. Yeah. So those are my notes there, and it's a lot of thoughts for like 2 paragraphs, but it's those are 2 very important paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a look here also, just to give a shout out to Writer. Uh, Writer is the one that recommended, I don't know if you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it said, it seems like it recommended getting rid of this because it seems like weakens a sentence. But since we wouldn't be using that, I would be recommending to take out the sentence altogether. Then we would not be using that recommendation anyway. Um, and I'll point out some other stuff that Writer's doing as a Chrome plugin. It's right here. It's saying get rid of the space, so it's adding a little bit of error correction to that. But we can take a look at some other stuff too. Ready to move on?
Let's go.
Okay. So I love and I should probably have left positive feedback, but I was very focused on corrective feedback for this one. I love it when there are table of contents at the top of it. As somebody, again, with neurodivergent condition, having that kind of direction and knowing what I'm in for is very important. Another aspect of this is okay, it's addressing what is AI marketing. I don't see any problem with having that question as a header. I realize that a lot of other people, it would be the header and thousands of others. But that's also an opportunity for you to be like, what's our twist on this? What is AI marketing? And then,
Right.
in layman's or not layman's in plain language, for example, right? What is the hook there? How are we going to get people to say this is going to be more valuable than the Google definition that will show up without having to click into an article, right? So how do you do that?
I want to step in for a second there. This is also really important to the idea, like if this is a search oriented piece and this might be somebody's like first visit, that's one thing. But if you have really tightly defined who your audience is for this piece in the first place, whether or not you keep this section is highly dependent on who you're going after. So like
Sure.
if somebody on this stream, for example, you or me or anyone in the audience were to see this, I'm tuned out, right? Like I know what AI marketing is. I don't need to, and maybe I'm the reader, maybe I'm not the reader, right?
Right.
But like I might be if I'm looking to buy an AI marketing tool, then I
But your
might already
search
know
your
the answer
search
to that.
question might be your search query might be different though.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah,
looking, if that search intent is there,
yeah.
then
So
yeah, this would not serve that search intent. But I'm assuming from the way that this is structured is that this is a very top of funnel definitional
yeah,
piece. Um, but if we're defining stuff, and this is what I'm saying, instead of just telling people, show them,
right.
be their tour guide through this landscape. Don't just talk at them and parrot what thousands of other competitors for this keyword are going to do. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's keep
Um,
going.
yes. And this is also with the knowledge that AI will be consuming a lot of the search results now. So it's
Yeah.
imperative that you do things that the AI cannot when it comes to generating content. Um, okay, so yeah, I say opportunity to show examples. Now, here I say there's an opportunity to show examples within this section, and then later on, there actually is a better opportunity. But it would be wise to say we'll cover some examples, something to keep the reader going into. We're going to show you what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
Um, and then here's an opportunity, like it's saying most AI content writing tools and platforms are generative AI based, which means, okay, it's telling you what it means. But again, I said, act like the tour guide through the landscape of this space. Show it. There are all these charts now that are showing thousands of tools that are being put out there every day. This is part of that checklist too, is if there have to be visual references, you have to do visual storytelling in formats like this. And that's something I was surprised to discover when I was a team lead for an agency, is how many of the writers just didn't think visually, that they were just thinking in terms of words and not like, here, let me show you an example of what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, your role as a content writer is also like, it's demonstrating to your audience, and using visual storytelling is just as important as textual storytelling. Oh, I just realized that I did not leave a comment here that I meant to, which is, here's a claim that I'm like, I sense a little bit of BS here, and I want to fact check it. And if this is AI generated content, it's super important that you fact check any claims like this. You are opening up your client or your company to risk if you are putting out claims that aren't supported by evidence. So make sure, and also you're building authority if you have external links to sources too. Okay, so here's an example of writer recommending that you add clarity to this So you just automatically click it. That kind of, it acts like, again, a grammar checker, but there are other places where it's going to help you um, tune the writing to your brand terms and or style. And I'll point out when those happen in a minute. Okay. So one of the things that I said here in this section is in terms of
just a little bit.
Yeah, this benefits of using AI in marketing. Uh, have parity in each section, so that way you have an introductory section before you go into like these subsections. It establishes what are people about to see. It again makes it skimmable in case they don't want to go through all of it. It kind of summarizes things, and then so here's something that you can see. I'm just going to demonstrate this. Like, you could take this and enhance it using Writer's extension. So here you can simplify the language, or I could say, let's enrich this and turn that into the introductory sentence. Yeah.
Can you scroll down just a little bit now? From where
Oh,
we have it cropped on the screen, we
sure.
can't see
I'm not.
everything.
Oh, sorry. I'm
There
not
we go.
seeing what you're seeing. Okay, so here I am. And again, I don't necessarily think it would be the best spot to do this, but just to show you what I'm talking about. Here, Writer is coming up with language, and you can transform it. So here are some of the, it's basically summarizing this, but the point is it will generate language for you to, if you needed to build out that idea a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I were to say, you know what, I want to build out this idea a little bit more, I can use enrich to do that. And also notice how it's actually agitating things a little bit more. Most exciting and promising benefits of AI marketing. So it's adding a little bit more emotion to it. Yeah. So there you have that.
I love that.
Okay. So one of the things I recommended here, my comment here is an AI chatbot can answer these questions, right? I mean, honestly, that's what you're competing with. This content is competing with GPT-3 and Bing and whatever else, what other chatbots are going to be introduced to search soon. That's a whole other conversation there. But you have to make this more human, relevant, informative, and engaging. So let's bring these benefits to life with stories of businesses that have realized the benefits. You can use customer stories from your own company if you're an AI product, or you can find case studies from AI writing platforms that are, if you're just writing about the space in general, but you're not an AI platform. Go find some, they have case studies all over the place, trust me, front and center right now. Writer does too. So that's an opportunity there. Okay, so this is a structural little nitpick. If you're using how to, most searchers are going to think that you're going to give them a step-by-step process of how to implement something. Yeah. But what follows in this section is just exploring the many ways that people can use AI. Yeah. So I would recommend changing the name of this particular section instead of how to 10 ways or however many ways there are.
This goes back to your scannability comment from earlier.
Exactly. And keeping that structure consistent. I also said, okay, so if the previous section was like, let's give examples of businesses, of how businesses are benefiting, like real world examples, then here's an opportunity to bring in SME quotes about how they're using or the ways that they're using it in their processes. So you go from company level to individual level. Yeah. And again, that's making it more, taking a more journalistic approach to the content as opposed to just trying to fit things to a certain format that a lot of people replicate. Looking at this. Oh, I said This particular point, which is about the fact that it won't, anything that you generate with an AI tool is not publish ready. You have to add your own human touch to it. That this is so important, it needs its own section. And later on, there is an opportunity to use that, but whoever wrote this under challenges of using AI in marketing kind of skipped over some of these challenges or risks. So I'll have feedback on that later on. Here's another water is wet statement. I think at this point, if you're looking at AI for marketing, you probably know the difference between blog writing and copywriting. I don't think that's necessarily necessary to the discussion here. But if you're saying copywriting is one of the most important aspects of any marketing campaign, why is that?
Right.
And also, discussing, but it can also be a lot of work, especially when you're dealing with tight deadlines and a large volume assets. That point actually gets repeated later on, almost verbatim, which makes me think that maybe AI generated this thought. And then we have and then the other part is if you're talking about copywriting, understand the process of copywriting, because the writing isn't the most time-consuming part of copywriting. It's the research, it's understanding, it's getting into the heads of your audience. And I studied copywriting, I did copywriting, and also worked with Joanna Wiebe, Copy Hackers, and she would say the same thing. Mm-hmm. So that means, again, this is about doing your research as a writer, of understanding what this process is, because yes, it can help with these things, but there are other aspects that are even more valuable to copywriters than generating copy. If you're a copywriter, you want to have something to help you amalgamate all of this information that you're gathering from audiences. Mm-hmm. And AI can help summarize interviews. It can help gain insights from, if it can read live URLs, which Writer can do. It can help you distill a LinkedIn profile down to like what the pain points are for that person, that that persona. So there are other ways to use copywriting tools. And if you're actually studying your audience, then you'll understand why there's more value than these particular benefits.
If you could summarize everything that we were saying here, what
I think there is so much anxiety right now over the aspect, how the world is going to be changed by AI, and specifically how the marketing world and how our careers are going to be changed by AI. And I think that if you lean more into the human aspects of what you bring to your role and understand how AI can assist with amplifying that and scaling it, then that anxiety gets relieved a lot. You have no control over how other human beings that might not have the same values as you respond to AI, but you do have control of how you master your craft, and you have control over the points of view you bring to your work. And that's all you can do, regardless of what factors are being in the marketplace. So that's what I would say.
Well, Laura, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. I had a great time. And I think that there's a lot to learn. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to rewatching the episode, and I'm going to be going through it a handful of times, because you made some very, very salient points about just where we're at now and where it's going to go. So I think that's really cool. We are going to wrap it up. Oh, wait, we have one more question. Do you think AI tools will learn to add the human touch down the line as we add more quotes and stories to our content? Which AI can be trained on?
Yes, and yeah, it can be trained on your best content, your customer stories, and there will always be new ones and new approaches and imaginative takes that that are fueled by the human imagination, human creativity. So yes, it will learn, but it will always be learning from human creativity, not replacing human creativity.
You're right. I mean, we're gonna do our best to train it in the way that we speak, to speed up our work, not necessarily to replace us, and definitely not for companies to be replacing writers in general. And if they are, then those aren't the companies that we want to be working with, either in-house or freelance, right? So I think that's really important, and I think any business that's worth the salt really knows that as well. Thanks so much for watching. If you like that episode, please leave a comment and a like down below. And if you want to be notified about future episodes, please go to thecontentstudio.com/thecuttingroom, enter your email address. You'll also get replays and other exclusive bonuses. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.